also received it for Lincoln for the first year. And I tell you, those awards don't come easily. It all boils down to taking care of the customers and having the vehicles you want in stock for you to buy.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. 4 o'clock hour here on a Thursday, 53 minutes and 40 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock bell. If you're a 9 to 5er, and I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents as we're giving attention to and talking about all kinds of things, financial, economic, lots to talk about here. We're getting to the tail end of earnings season. Okay, maybe a little bit of a downer as far as I'm concerned. I get real excited around earnings season, but big news. Some of the biggest names, biggest companies, you've probably seen them out there. They were talking about them on Good Morning LKN here this morning here on WSIC. We're probably going to talk about them here. You're right. And probably going to inject a little bit of humor as well. And of course, we're going to be talking about the two big F's. No, don't get carried away. Food and football. We're going to be talking about it. Appreciate you spending the time, though, here on WSIC, here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Now, as we're talking about all things economic and financial here, you know, as a previous listener, that we're not intending for anything to be as a specific recommendation for you. Meaning that even as we're going into some details here, we're going to be looking at things positive light, negative light. I'll tell you that in advance with some of these companies here. Never, ever, ever intended as a specific recommendation for your financial circumstance. We strongly, strongly recommend you reach out to your tax advisor, your financial advisor, or if you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial Group, love to hear from you. Love to chat about your particular financial journey, see if there are ways in which we might be able to be helpful to you. Online, you can find us at northmainfinancial.com. That's north like the direction, Main like the street, financial.com. Northmainfinancial.com. Got a contact page on there. Leave us an email address, a phone number. Let us know the most preferred and desirable ways for us to contact you, again, at northmainfinancial.com. Like to call us here in the studio? Absolutely, you can do it. Can't promise you we're going to get to your particular subject here. Got a lot on our plate, a lot on the agenda here as we're motoring through the hour. But if you'd like to, definitely leave your thoughts, your question. Obviously, I can't give you specific financial advice. You know that. I know you'd love for me to do that. Can't do it. Everybody's situation, of course, is unique and different. But feel free to do that. 844-788-3464 here in the studio. Love to hear about your particular space. 844-STUDIO-4 here in the studio. We're happy to hear your questions, and certainly if we can get them on the air, we'll make sure that we do that. All right, let's hammer in. What's hot? Tough to be bigger than what we're going to talk about here next. Like I said, it's a tail end of earnings season. Got to mention this company. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold. But when you're $3 trillion in market cap, yeah, I got to talk about you. You come out with earnings. I was trying to think of a company recently which was more anticipated in terms of their quarterly earnings. I couldn't come up with anything relatively recent. It's been a while since there were so many folks who were so breathlessly waiting. Certainly most of the market seemed to be waiting for it, for the quarterly earnings report from NVIDIA. Now, if you're not familiar with them, NVIDIA, ticker symbol Nancy, variable David Alpha. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold NVIDIA stock. They came out here with earnings, quarterly earnings yesterday. They have become a bellwether. I mean, whether good, bad, or ugly, whether you agree with that, disagree with it, there was so much of the market which was waiting for the quarterly earnings from NVIDIA yesterday as of the time of this live broadcast, or as of the time of this recording, if you're listening to the podcast. And I mean, literally, it seemed like the market was kind of walking on its tiptoes a little bit to see what NVIDIA was going to say. Now, I got to set this up a little bit. If you're not familiar with NVIDIA, NVIDIA is a designer of semiconductors, of computer chips, and most especially for a very, very advanced style of computer chips. So not just the stuff that gets put into your laptops and into your iPhones and Android phones, but we're talking about artificial intelligence level kinds of things, driverless car kinds of things. I mean, some very, very advanced chips. So there aren't too many folks, frankly, who compete directly with NVIDIA at the level that they're producing, meaning the kinds of chips that they're producing. So very, very popular company in the trading universe, and has become a darling and a bellwether in a lot of ways. And you could probably see if you're watching me on the socials or on the WSIC app, which, by the way, if you don't have the WSIC app, jump on over there to the Apple Store, to the Google Store. Get that app. no matter where you are, you don't have to worry about being within a radio signal. You can listen to WSIC at any time. Plus, you got all the recordings of your favorite shows. So you miss something, you go back and listen to it. Great stuff. Jump on over there to get the WSIC app. But in looking at the kinds of things that were expected from this company, from NVIDIA, how do you exceed it? I mean, again, a semiconductor company has been the darling of Wall Street here for probably a couple of years. I'm not a fan of it. It's not something. I get leery whenever companies are just made out too utopically. Can I say that? I can say that, absolutely. We'll use that as an adjective. That there's just too much euphoria around NVIDIA. And I say that because, well, can you say they deserved it? Can you say, certainly if you're one who has owned the stock here for some measure of time, you're probably getting ready to call in to producer Bill here and say, wait a minute, I've made a ton of money on this company. Can't disagree with you. I mean, even this year alone, even with the modest pullback that it had today in the market, 150% this year, that's after triple-digit gains last year as well. Had a pullback in 22, but if you look back at 20, 21, I mean, superlative gains relative to the market. So, I'm not going to disagree with you relative to the market performance. But when the expectations come, and this is as old as the markets are long, it is almost incredibly, I have to say almost because I'm in this business, almost incredibly predictable what's going to happen whenever the expectations start to price in perfection. And that's really what we have with NVIDIA. If you look at the quarterly earnings report, I can't disagree with you. They were excellent, superlative even. I mean, especially with regards to expectations, amazing in terms of the revenue, the top line, the bottom line revenue, the amount of anticipated growth that they're looking at for 2025, 2026, and beyond. I mean, amazing by any, let's call it semi-reasonable measure. But because NVIDIA has kind of moved into this ulterior universe kind of space, the fact that they exceeded it just in a relatively modest kind of way, markets didn't like it. Sold off hard in the aftermarket after the earnings report yesterday. Again, as of the time of this live broadcast, or as of the time of this recording, if you're listening to the podcast, sold off pretty hard. Went down 6, 7, 8% in the aftermarket. Pretty heavy trading. Usually the aftermarket is relatively thin trading, especially here in the U.S., but pretty heavy trading in it. But my goodness, if you took a look at it just before I came online here, coming on the air with you folks here, I was taking a look at what it was trading at today. It came down hard in the opening segments of today's market, but boy, recovered for the most part. I would say in a relatively good space, down about 3% whenever I came online here. So down 3%, my gosh, that can happen in an ordinary market day. That's certainly not something that's standing out, or I mean, it could be just a sell-off in the market. So very, very interesting. Very interesting to see it as a company. Very interesting to see the amount of, let's call it, both buying and selling pressure, and watching those things match up with regards to where the market is, where folks are with regards to the stock overall. It's going to be very interesting to watch because, we're going to talk about this in the second segment. I'm teasing you up a little bit. I want you to come back after we hear from our sponsors here in a few moments. But very interesting because some of the other players in the mix, not just in semiconductors, but looking at cybersecurity, looking at client relationship management, CRM software, kinds of things, came out very positively, very, very positively, and actually have served to buoy the market a little bit as NVIDIA has pulled back. I mean, so widely held, so much a large player in the mix of things. Easy to understand why they would be such a mover in the market. All right. Well, we're going to hear from our sponsors here in a few seconds, folks. I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Hang with us. We'll be back in a few moments here on WSIC.
More of Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi following these brief messages on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, the heat and humidity really going to be working on us again today. Plenty of sunshine as high temperatures get back into the mid-90s this afternoon. Feels like temperatures around 100, if not the low 100s for many of us this afternoon. Most of us will stay dry, just a low chance of a stray shower as we get into Friday and the upcoming Labor Day weekend. Our heat backs off just a tad. We'll still be hovering around 90, and we'll up our rain chances for a few of those pop-up thunderstorms each afternoon. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree, Lake Norman, and Mooresville presents Vegas McGraw on Thursday, August 29th. Event time is 6:30 p.m. with music starting at 7. The Langtree Live free concert series powered by Waves Entertainment rolls on this Thursday with Vegas McGraw. The Center Stage Alliance holds the Bluegrass Jam on Friday night. Bring your favorite instrument and come jam every Friday at 109 East Broad Street in Statesville. The Iredell County Fair opens Friday night at the Fairgrounds in Troutman. The 88th annual event, sponsored by the Kiwanis Club, features some of the best entertainment in the area, including go-kart racing, carnival rides for all ages, competitive 4-H exhibits and animal shows, the magic of Lance Gifford, and much more. The fair runs through September 7th. Gates and rides open weekdays at 5 p.m. and on weekends at 3 p.m. Tickets are $5, while kids 6 and under are free. Carnival ride tickets and wristbands are available at the ticket box. Enjoy the Iredell County Fair for 9 straight days beginning this Friday at the Fairgrounds in Troutman. The town of Davidson presents the Music and Makers Concert Series on Saturday. Main Street businesses will feature handmade items produced by local makers. Take advantage of the social district and enjoy live music at the Crazy Pig Stage on 402 South Main Street in Davidson beginning at 2 p.m. On September 7th, see the top riders from the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship as they compete on a custom-built course at ZMAX Dragway. The playoff opener features a two-moto format for the 450cc class and the 250cc class, promising plenty of drama and excitement the moment the gates drop. The Super Motocross Fan Fest is a pre-race event taking place from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. where you can see the teams practice, prepare, and qualify for the playoff round and is included in the event ticket. Don't miss the biggest Super Motocross race of the year. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
It's Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second quarter football reference here on Dollars and Cents. Folks, it's football season. I mean, if you are even remotely close to a television, that's what I'm talking about, Producer Bill. I mean, we talk about it pretty much every week. I mean, whether it's hockey season, baseball season, it could be lacrosse season. I know. I mean, but we're still talking football, and here we are. I mean, if you're even remotely close, I think tonight, there maybe college or pro. Producer Bill, help me out.
I feel like college might start right? Tonight. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, but I mean, whether you're looking at streaming services or you're looking at the networks, I know the pros are not ramping up this weekend, so it may be college through and through.
Yes, all college this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you got your favorite college out there, you better be taking a look. I know you're taking a look at that kind of stuff. I will certainly be taking a look at that kind of stuff. We're back into it. So I don't need to do the countdown anymore. Now we're probably gonna do the countdown to playoffs. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna hit you with that kind of stuff. But it is football season and it's fun and it's fall. And yes, we'll get to the other F here, food, in a little bit. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on Dollars and Cents. I'm gonna switch you up here a little bit. I'm gonna go right to our What to Know segment here in the second quarter here. This is a big one, and I actually had a conversation on this a little bit earlier this week with another group. We were chatting about these kinds of things. And it's a big deal. And this on the What to Know segment. So we're going to talk about the broad idea, not all the nuances, of course, but the broad idea of retirement planning. Now, what is retirement planning? Well, I'm going to give you a terrible answer to start out. Retirement planning is different for everybody. Retirement is different for everybody. Let me just draw some context. So I've been in this business a very long time. Let's say I'm bumping into 3 decades. I know I look like I'm 24 years old. Slightly older than 24 years old, but I've been in this business for about 3 decades. At the front end of my career, and certainly before that, generationally before that, and when you talked about retirement was a stop, meaning that you engaged in your career very often. It was manual labor, especially in our economy here in the U.S., significant amount of manual labor, manufacturing labor, physical exertion that was part of our economy. And when you retired, you stopped. So a lot of my family used to work in mills, steel mills specifically. When you retired, it was a hard stop. There was no second career. There was you were tired, worn out, and unfortunately, a relatively short, at least in my end of things, a relatively short life expectancy into retirement. Very, very different now. Very different in this generation, very different in this day and age, where we are now much more a service-based economy. Not entirely. We still have our manufacturing jobs. We still have our manual labor jobs. But if you look at it in terms of the total number of jobs, we are much more a service-based economy than we are a manual labor-based economy. Again, both very, very important, but just the tilt in terms of the number of folks who are engaged in services as opposed to manual labor. When I say services, I'm talking about those kinds of things which don't require as much physical labor. And when we're looking at those kinds of things, and what has accompanied that during that time is an increase, a notable, call it significant increase, in our life expectancy. And you can make a number of different arguments from a sociological standpoint why that may be the case. Not going to get into those weeds right at this time, but it is true that our life expectancy has increased as we have moved more from a manual labor economy into more of a service-based economy. When we're looking at those kinds of things, then the natural, in my world, thinking about is, okay, well, how does retirement look for folks then in this day and age, different from what it was previously, but planning in such a way that there can be a meaningful and desirable enjoyment of whatever retirement may be? And that answer has changed a lot during the course of my career. And when you're looking at it from a planning standpoint, then it means different things. So I just said, from a previous generation, retirement meant, for a lot of folks, meant stop. Literally, it was. It was read the newspaper for 4 hours, make sure you hit the blue plate special there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, watch the evening news at 6, and in bed by 7. I'm not kidding. I mean, that really was pretty much what it was. And I'm generalizing. I know that. Plenty of folks who didn't have that kind of experience, but certainly that was much more prevalent than it is today. Now we talk about retirement being really a next season of life, where for so many folks, retirement can be a space where you can spend as much or more time in retirement than you do when you're working. I mean, pretty amazing to think about, right? I mean, is it reasonable if you had a 30-year career, 35-year career, you could have 30, 35 years in retirement? Absolutely. Absolutely. With where we are in terms of longevity and life expectancy at this point. So I'm bringing all of that up, setting all of that framework in place to talk about what I'm going to say next. Vanguard, large mutual fund company, actually the largest in terms of assets under management, open-end mutual fund company, I should say, largest in terms of assets under management as of the end of last year, 2023, came out with a study. They do this study every year, talking about what the average retirement savings is for the folks who have IRAs and 401ks, which are custodied or held at Vanguard. I'm going to give you a moment. Think about what the average balance is inside of there. Now, I should frame this up. Let me give you an age frame. So age 45 to 54. Age 45 to 54. So you're in the larger earnings part of your career. You're not quite ready for retirement for most folks. Maybe you are. But for most folks, not quite ready to retirement. So still have some runway before you're probably going to retire. Average balance inside of retirement savings for folks in that bracket with Vanguard. And again, Vanguard, I would say, is a notable kind of data point because they have so many folks who have IRAs and 401k accounts with them. Average balance, $60,000. $60,000. Now, $60,000 is a lot of money. Not taking away from that at all. However, if you are using that balance to be able to sustain you through the balance of your retirement years, you can understand why I would say next, I have some concern about that. This is not a new phenomenon. This is a phenomenon we've actually seen here for, I would say the better part of 20 years at least. Certainly as so many companies switched from retirement provided by the company or through the company in the form of pensions to many, almost all who now provide retirement in terms of 401ks. Now, really what that means is that you went from companies making retirement plan contributions on your behalf to now the employee being responsible to make contributions on his or her behalf and save out of their income in order to be able to provide for them in retirement. That's really where we've seen the change in this space. And this is not an advocacy for or against pensions and for or against 401ks. This is just the reality of it. So now we're in a space where we have the average 401k balance, again, as noted by Vanguard in their 2023 year-end study, as being approximately $60,000 per individual. Now, there are some above, there are some below, and there are all kinds of reasons, and of course, all kinds of folks who have investments outside of Vanguard. But Vanguard is the number one in terms of assets under management. You heard me say this. Number one mutual fund, open-end mutual fund company on the planet. So they have a pretty good database in terms of being able to think about this and to what that actually means. So what do you do? What do you do in that kind of space? Because one of the scenarios that we see at North Main Financial Group with some regularity is when we're talking about retirement planning, and especially with folks who are in this age bracket, again, 45 to 54, looking at that particular age space. These are often folks who have saved and who have paid for and maybe are still paying for kids to go to college. And if you have more than one, you just keep doing the X's, meaning the times 2, X2, X3, depending upon how many children you have. And then the difference between paying for a public school education as opposed to a private school education. I mean, geometric differences. Even if you go to public school, if you go out of state, very, very different from when you go to public school in-state. So large dollars that are going in that direction, or large loans. So sometimes a combination of those two as well, large loans which have been incurred and are being sustained. So we're talking about a significant amount of outflow in the family growth process. So, and that includes, of course, that college experience as well. So this isn't necessarily dereliction of duty, but rather there are only so many assets to go around and so many ways in which you can cut that apple, if you will, in terms of the income, whether it be non-discretionary or discretionary income that is coming in each month. So we see this with some regularity. But then the question becomes, okay, I'm 49 years old. What do I do now? I'd like to retire, fill in the blank, whenever that may be. For some folks, yesterday. I understand that. But then there are more realistic numbers put to it. Well, I'd like to retire, if I'm 49 years old, I'd like to retire in 15 to 20 years. Okay. What can you do then to be able to sustain yourself enough between here and there in order to make that happen? Now, as I mentioned, this isn't the magic dust show. I'm not going to give you this is all you need to do. Press this red button in order for that to happen. No, this is not it. This is about making big decisions and sticking to them. It's like anything else, right? If you want to lose weight, you got to make the discipline to get on the treadmill, and you got to cut back on pretty much everything I like to eat. I mean, it's just part of it. Right? You just got to make those decisions, and then you got to stick to it. Same thing on the financial end of the universe. If you're playing catch up a little bit with regards to retirement planning, you got to make some decisions. Maybe you have to look at your expenses so you can save more into your 401k plan. Maybe you make some savings outside of your 401k plan. Maybe it's about paying down debt. Maybe it's about paying off that credit card. Maybe it's about holding on to that car longer and paying off that auto loan so that you don't have a car payment anymore. Maybe it's about paying down that mortgage or paying off that mortgage so you don't have that overhead anymore. There are a number of things that you can do from a financial standpoint to positively impact that planning process. But when it comes to retirement planning, again, everybody's situation is unique. So you want to make sure, be honest with yourself. Because if you're looking at it at 49, you don't want to be asking the same questions or having not made a decision by the time you get to 59. Or, in some instances, at 69. That's the big deal. You don't want to you're still in a space where you can make some notable decisions and have impact over where it is that trajectory, that arrow can point. And that's very, very important. I get it. It's scary. Those are all big numbers. I mean, if you looked at college expenses, those are big numbers. You look at retirement, those are big numbers. And so when we're looking at those kinds of things, take the time to take a look at what options you have in front of you. I just mentioned a couple of strategies, some touch points that you can consider. Take a look at what your Social Security is. Do you have a pension? Not as many folks do anymore, but do you have that kind of thing? Is it possible, now that we're more a service-based economy, that you could work part-time in retirement? You can earn, sidebar, you can earn approximately $22,000 a year in retirement and still collect your Social Security without penalty. Kind of a big deal. So keep those kinds of things in mind. All right. Well, like I said, everybody's situation unique. Big deal when it comes to retirement planning. Make sure you're giving attention to it where you need to. Thanks so much for hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Back in a moment on WSIC.
Dollars and Cents with your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi, continues straight ahead on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, the heat and humidity really going to be working on us again today. Plenty of sunshine as high temperatures get back into the mid-90s this afternoon. Feels like temperatures around 100, if not the low 100s for many of us this afternoon. Most of us will stay dry, just a low chance of a stray shower. As we get into Friday and the upcoming Labor Day weekend, our heat backs off just a tad. We'll still be hovering around 90, and we'll up our rain chances for a few of those pop-up thunderstorms each afternoon. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
We're at Black Automotive. The Buick Encore GX is now at a low 0.9% for 36 months or a $3,000 rebate. Or the Buick Envista is also 0.9% for 36 months. And there's more here at Black Automotive Station.
DrumLandscapeSupply.com. DrumLandscapeSupply.com. DrumLandscapeSupply.com.
Honey, what are you doing?
Oh, I figured if I rubbed my lawn and said DrumLandscapeSupply.com, I'd have the dream lawn I've always wanted.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Dobi, president of North Main Financial Group. At North Main Financial Group, we move to where you need us. Investment management, insurance planning, and estate strategies. No two people are the same, so we customize our planning based upon your needs. Reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com. That's northmainfinancial.com.
Breaking news, expert analysis, and the stories that matter most, all in one place.
I totally acknowledge seeing flames is a scary situation.
WSIC News Talk Now.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Just ahead of Wall Street's closing bell, the Dow on track to notch another fresh record closing high today. That follows a second read on U.S. economic growth in the spring second quarter. It was higher than previously thought, up 3%, thanks to robust consumer spending. Right now, the Dow is up over 300 points, 0.8% higher. The S&P up a small fraction. The NASDAQ, though, is down very slightly, because NVIDIA shares are down nearly 6% after posting blowout earnings for last quarter, but it posted an outlook that disappointed investors. The big gainer shares of Best Buy up 14%, raising its full-year outlook, saying sales of electronic gadgets and home appliances are poised to climb higher. But Dollar General shares down 30% after saying its lower-earning customers are still struggling, buying only necessities, and it faces strong competition from Walmart and discount grocers like Aldi and Lidl. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
We're back now with more of Dollars and Cents with your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second half of today's show. You got 26 minutes and 25 seconds until you get to that 5 o'clock hour. And I appreciate so much you hanging with us here as we're giving attention to all things economic, financial. As we were going to break there, we were talking about some big deal when it comes up to on the What to Know segment. These are general topics. We want you to be aware of them. We want you to be, even if they're not applicable to you today, to be just cognizant of what importance they have. And certainly when we're talking about, as was on today's What to Know segment with retirement planning, important to know that it's different for everybody, especially in this day and age. Like I said, a generation and a half ago, when you retired, it was a hard stop. Like I said, it was reading the newspaper for 4 hours, and I'm stereotyping and generalizing here. Reading the newspaper for 4 hours, dinner at 4, news at 6, and bed by 7. I mean, it was in a lot of ways, but that's not the case today. We're moving much more from a manufacturing or production style economy in terms of manual labor to much more of a service based economy. Certainly in terms of the majority of what we produce GDP wise, it is service based. So that presents pros and cons. This is not an advocacy one way or the other. It does present pros and cons, but one of the things that it can do is to give you a little bit more flexibility in retirement. That's important, especially when you're considering some of the data that we were reading there from Vangaurd about where folks are in retirement. And for many folks, maybe you can make the argument most folks who are in a space of planning for retirement in that mid-40s to mid-50s age gap, got some making up to do in order to be able to sustain a retirement. So there are some levers you can pull. Very, very important to do your own planning, though. Very, very important, though, that you keep that in mind. All right, let's keep going here, getting into the second half. So we talked about some pretty serious stuff. We talked about NVIDIA earnings, one of the largest companies on the planet. We talked about retirement savings. We talked about what's a good pivot here. Let's work. Yep. Here we go. Food. You betcha. Here's one that's out there. If you are like me and you either have had or you currently have children under the age of 40, actually I probably can't even say that, maybe under the age of 50. Is that reasonable? Children under the age of 50? You probably know what Goldfish crackers are. And when I say Goldfish, you're not thinking about something swimming around in a tank, most likely. You're thinking about those bags of crunchy goodness that are probably in your pantry. And, I mean, they are... I feel like they've been in my house forever. I know that's not the case, but certainly it has been true since our children were able to crunch on whole food from the time that they were quite young. By the way, just a sidebar, Goldfish crackers owned by Pepperidge Farm owned by Campbell's Soup, ticker symbol, that is publicly traded company. Charlie Paul Berry, CPB, is Campbell's Soup company. They own so much more than soup, though. It's a very large food conglomerate. So the ubiquitous then Goldfish crackers owned by Campbell's Soup Company. They're coming out with a new flavor. Now, when I say they're coming out with a new flavor, this is actually a flavor that they had for a short while previously. You're going to want to listen up here. They came out with it previously. It was the number one, they call it alternative flavor, meaning flavor that they don't normally stock on shelves. They do it for very short periods of time. It was the number one in terms of sales. So listen closely here. If you're a Goldfish crackers person, which I'm not, but my daughters are, so I got to pay attention to this stuff. Strawberry shortcake. That's where I am, Producer Bill. I mean, when I saw that, I thought, okay, so we're doing the salty sweet combination. I mean, is that where we're going with that?
I mean, yeah, I'm having trouble visualizing.
I mean, I did
not think that was going to come out of your mouth.
I mean, I guess I can see a pink fish, right? I mean, so
Sure.
so they're usually orange, right? I mean, if you're not familiar with the Goldfish crackers, they're usually orange,
right?
Mini crackers. I could see pink. I wasn't leaning towards strawberry shortcake either.
No, I was not. I absolutely was not.
No, I'll tell you one of my favorite ones, because now that we're talking about it,
Yeah.
of course, I'm just going to make this about me. That Old Bay.
Yes, I was about to say.
Oh, my goodness. Now, I know you're a Baltimore guy, so I know that Old Bay is basically running through your veins.
If we see him, we buy him. Need them or not.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Stocking up.
You never know.
Right.
You never know when you're going to need more of them. You got company coming over. Of course, you're going to put that in the bowl.
Absolutely.
Whenever they're coming over. But so I'm an Old Bay cracker guy. Talking about that. But strawberry shortcake. So
I'm gonna have to try them.
And be on the lookout. I mean, I when it comes to food, I'm
not above it. Yeah.
I will rarely say no before I try it.
That's it.
But I'm certainly willing to take a dip into that. All right, we're going to keep going here. I got to talk about this one. And this, you're going to see me in terms of my body language here. We're getting to the tail end of earnings season, and so there aren't a bunch of them that are coming out right now. But this company also very, very well known. Just crossed over today, actually, in terms of the size of this publicly traded company. And once I say the name, and certainly once I say the name of the person or one of the co-founders of the company, you will know very quickly who it is. So it's Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is a conglomerate. Ticker symbol Bravo Roger Kelly, BRK. There are two different trading share classes, Alpha and Bravo, A and B shares. Different pricing on those, different voting rights associated with them. I'm not going to get granular on that. Just know that there are two out there. So you may see BRK.A, BRK.B. That's very normal that they can do that kind of thing. But in terms of understanding the company, Warren Buffett, one of the arguably one of the most famous investors of our generation, and one of the co-founders of Berkshire Hathaway, a conglomerate. They own everything. I mean, they own everything from railroads to dog food. I mean, they got all kinds of stuff that they own in that company. Just crossed over $1 trillion in terms of market cap, and so that's notable in terms of what they were reporting. But one of the things that I like most about Berkshire Hathaway, let's start out with what I don't like, and this is subjective. This is me. Welcome to disagree with it. I always get leery, and this was true with Apple for a while as well. Apple being the consumer products company, phones, watches, of course, computers, all of that good kind of stuff. One of the things that always draws for me a moment of pause is when a company is doing exceptionally well and it has a very, very prominent single person who, right or wrong, is perceived as the primary reason for the success of the company. Now, I say that about Apple because that was true with Steve Jobs was alive, and there was, and Steve Jobs, brilliant person. I mean, you can say whatever you want about him personally and otherwise, but certainly brilliant technician, brilliant in terms of being able to find the folks who could build the products, and certainly his vision for the company. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett. And I get a little leery when there is perhaps an overabundance of credit given to one person for one company. The fact is that Berkshire Hathaway, if you peel back the layers of the proverbial onion a little bit, you're going to find an exceptional bench. You're going to find exceptional money managers, exceptional business managers inside of there as well. So usually I get a little bit leery, and again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold Berkshire Hathaway in any way, shape, or form, but I get a little bit leery when so much is ascribed to a single person, and that has been the case with Berkshire Hathaway through the years. That, I mean, we saw it here recently. Well, we see it all the time. When I say it recently, it happens, well, with some regularity, that there are public reports that companies like Berkshire Hathaway are required to file, which indicate what they have bought and sold, meaning what companies they have bought and sold. Here recently, just released one that showed that they dumped a significant portion of Bank of America stock, BAC, Bravo Alpha Charlie stock. I mean, the stock went down notably on that news. And that doesn't mean Bank of America is a bad company or a good company for that matter. It just means they sold it. They could have sold for any number of reasons. And that's important to keep that kind of thing in mind because there are services out there. I see them. I get the emails pretty much daily about how they track A, B, and C and how you can follow X, Y, Z in terms of what his or her or their trades are. Oh, folks, that's not a way to make a plan. You know that. I mean, just because Warren Buffett or Elon Musk or anybody else for that matter owns or buys something doesn't make it good or bad, right or wrong. And that's very, very important to keep in mind. Everybody's situation is unique. And if you're not Warren Buffett or Elon Musk, then you probably should have your own plan. What do you think? That's important. I know there's a lot of that kind of stuff out there. You just want to be mindful of that kind of thing. Not take away from Berkshire Hathaway. Exceptionally run company, has done very well for a long period of time. They're up over 30% here year to date in terms of their stock price. So they've had a good run here, but you want to be cautious, especially when you're so far ahead of the curve when it comes to those kinds of movements. All right, let's move into the consumer here a little bit. This is important because you hear me talk about the consumer, 2/3, 3/4 of our overall economy. Very, very important what the consumer is doing. Have some concern. I have personally, subjective, have some concern about where the consumer is right now, just in terms of their ability to continue to spend at the levels where they are. So one of the places at which we look, the retail space. So when I look at things like Abercrombie and Fitch, ticker symbol Alpha Nancy Ferret out there, Foot Locker, Ferret Lucy is their ticker symbol. Kohl's, Kelly Sam, and Nordstrom is Joshua William Nancy. Again, just giving you all those ticker symbols, the ones I looked at here very quickly for today's show. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any of them, but very mixed results. Very mixed results in terms of their most recent quarterly earnings report and what they're seeing in terms of the consumer. You've heard me talk a lot about Walmart and Target. Again, both publicly traded companies, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold either of those. But you heard me talk a lot about, from the consumer standpoint, what they're seeing. And that's really what we're seeing with the companies that I just mentioned here, meaning that they're seeing mixed results. They are seeing not necessarily folks who are no longer buying in their end of things, but who are, we sometimes call it buying down the ladder from a retail standpoint, meaning that they are looking for less expensive options. We're seeing this across the board, retail, grocery, across the cars, automobiles, that they're looking for less expensive options, and that's where the money is being spent. So for each of these companies, Abercrombie, Foot Locker, Kohl's, Nordstrom, et cetera, that's what we're seeing. So if you're a company that focuses more on less expensive items like Kohl's, that can be a boon for you. That's what Walmart was saying, certainly, here a little while ago. But if you're on the upper end of things, maybe more like a Nordstrom, maybe a little bit more challenging. All right, well, we're going to take a few seconds here to hear from our sponsors one more time as we get ready for the fourth quarter here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial Group. Hang with us as we come back here on WSIC.
More of Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, the heat and humidity really going to be working on us again today. Plenty of sunshine as high temperatures get back into the mid-90s this afternoon. Feels like temperatures around 100, if not the low 100s for many of us this afternoon. Most of us will stay dry, just a low chance of a stray shower. As we get into Friday and the upcoming Labor Day weekend, our heat backs off just a tad. We'll still be hovering around 90, and we'll up our rain chances for a few of those pop-up thunderstorms each afternoon. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree, Lake Norman, and Mooresville presents Vegas McGraw on Thursday, August 29th. Event time is 6:30 p.m. with music starting at 7. The Langtree Live free concert series powered by Waves Entertainment rolls on this Thursday with Vegas McGraw. The Center Stage Alliance holds the Bluegrass Jam on Friday night. Bring your favorite instrument and come jam every Friday at 109 East Broad Street in Statesville. The Iredell County Fair opens Friday night at the Fairgrounds in Troutman. The 88th annual event, sponsored by the Kiwanis Club, features some of the best entertainment in the area, including go-kart racing, carnival rides for all ages, competitive 4-H exhibits and animal shows, the magic of Lance Gifford, and much more. The fair runs through September 7th. Gates and rides open weekdays at 5 p.m. and on weekends at 3 p.m. Tickets are $5, while kids 6 and under are free. Carnival ride tickets and wristbands are available at the ticket box. Enjoy the Iredell County Fair for 9 straight days beginning this Friday at the Fairgrounds in Troutman. The town of Davidson presents the Music and Makers concert series on Saturday. Main Street businesses will feature handmade items produced by local makers. Take advantage of the social district and enjoy live music at the Crazy Pig Stage on 402 South Main Street in Davidson beginning at 2 p.m. On September 7th, see the top riders from the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship as they compete on a custom-built course at ZMAX Dragway. The playoff opener features a two-moto format for the 450cc class and the 250cc class, promising plenty of drama and excitement the moment the gates drop. The Super Motocross Fan Fest is a pre-race event taking place from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. where you can see the teams practice, prepare, and qualify for the playoff round and is included in the event ticket. Don't miss the biggest Super Motocross race of the year. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Dollars and Cents continues now. Here's your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Fourth quarter, I appreciate you sprinting with us the whole way here as we're looking at 11 minutes and 55 seconds until we get to the end of our segment here. 5 o'clock hour if you're a 9 to 5er, almost on the sprint. You might even have a long weekend. I hope you have a long weekend as we're looking at Labor Day here. And if you're one of the really lucky ones, you may be able to even stretch that out a little bit. Maybe you took Friday as well. Stretch it into a 4-dayer. My gosh, I'm envious of you if that's the case, because well, that's not the case on my end of things, so I'll just be envious of you. But I hope that you're able to get a little time off here as we get into the holiday weekend. But thank you so much for hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents. We're giving attention to all things economic and financial. Now we're talking about the retailer. We were talking about Berkshire Hathaway right before we went to break there. Again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold Berkshire, but that makes a very easy segue into what we're going to talk about next. And you know what we're going to probably food. Dairy Queen specifically, and if you're not familiar with Dairy Queen, well, you should be. You should figure out a way to get familiar with Dairy Queen. I mean, it's really just revolutionized the whole soft serve ice cream market end of things. And if you have been privileged enough to go to a party that also had one of their frozen cakes, then your life is indeed blessed. So. What I'm talking about, Producer Bill. I mean, that's a reason to wake up in the morning. But just in case you were wondering, because we are getting into, yes, football season, Dairy Queen, which, by the way, just sidebar, but also important, sidebar, owned by, that's why we segued, Berkshire Hathaway. Do you know why Berkshire Hathaway bought Dairy Queen? They bought Dairy Queen because Warren Buffett liked the ice cream. I mean, I'm thinking I should find something that Warren Buffett likes. Because maybe he'll just give me a call, knock on my door, and say, we'd like to buy that. And just in case you're wondering, they have approximately $275 billion in cash at Berkshire Hathaway right now. So that's larger than the economic system of most countries. So they could buy pretty much whatever they want. I'm going to have to figure that out. There we go. But Dairy Queen, owned by Berkshire Hathaway, again, Bravo, Roger Kelly, 2 share classes, Alpha and Bravo, when it comes to Berkshire Hathaway. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold their stock. The reason why I'm bringing it up, Dairy Queen coming out with, it's fall season, pumpkin spice blizzard. Now, if you are a person who is all things pumpkin spice, chances are you may also be a coffee or coffee derivative person because I feel like Starbucks has just revolutionized the pumpkin spice experience. Now, Producer Bill, are you one, when we get basically beyond July 4th, are you looking for all things pumpkin spice? Where do you sit with that?
If I see it, I do dabble.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not above it.
You're a seasonal. You're a seasonal celebration kind of guy.
That's it.
I get that kind of thing.
Right.
You get to Thanksgiving, you may start wearing things that look like a turkey outfit,
Yes.
and you put on a Santa hat as we get closer to Christmas.
That's it.
I get it. Rabbit ears at Easter, of course. That seems reasonable to me. Pumpkin spice blizzard. So if you are a Dairy Queen aficionado, if you're not, but you're an aficionado of pumpkin spice, be on the lookout. Dairy Queen's going to have pumpkin spice blizzard coming in here.
Strawberry shortcake goldfish. Pumpkin spice blizzard.
I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to give you one more, kind of round it out.
Please.
So we got some sweet over here.
There's still some more room on my table.
We're going to round it out with something salty, something a little bit more substantive. McDonald's, Mary Charlie Daniel, publicly traded company, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold McDonald's. McDonald's coming out with Chicken Big Mac.
Yes.
So you are familiar. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. I
get the alerts when they come.
You must get the same alerts I do. Yes, there's the market kinds of things, geopolitical kinds of things, but I'm most interested in.
Then there's important news.
Who's coming out with pumpkin spice blizzards? That's really what I want to know on my end of things. Chicken Big Mac. You're talking about an institution here, right? With the Big Mac, and you're going Chicken Big Mac. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Also, not saying that I won't have one or more.
Yes.
But wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big deal.
I'm excited about it.
It seems like when it comes to the chicken business, and I'm going to steal Mamie's phrase here in talking about God's chicken as well at Chick-fil-A, which, by the way, not a publicly traded company, no matter how much some folks would like it to be a publicly traded company. There are a lot of folks in the chicken sandwich business.
There are.
And it must be just limitless, because I feel like with some regularity, now you have McDonald's arguably at the top, or very near the top, if they're not the top, of the quick service restaurant business or fast food restaurant business, saying that they're going to dabble in the Big Mac institution by allowing for a chicken option. I think that's amazing.
Right. You just know there was a board meeting and someone said 2 patties.
Why
or
not?
two chicken patties.
2 chicken patties. And everybody around the table thought, why didn't I think of that?
Right. Genius.
Can't blame them for that. Actually, of course, what I'm thinking as well. You're like, well, I'd like to have kind of like a traditional one in the left hand and the chicken patties in the right hand, and maybe just a couple of pumpkin spice blizzards right in front of me to close the deal.
Yeah, some football on.
Okay,
we can get that sorted.
Let me take a nap. Call me tomorrow morning. That's pretty much how I would end. Right. So Chicken Big Macs. All right. You get all kinds of stuff on here on Dollars and Cents. Right. Important stuff too. Anyhow, I appreciate you hanging with us here. Let's do a market wrap as we're in the fourth quarter here, talking about where things are right now. You heard me talk about NVIDIA. Simply because there was so much attention given to the earnings report. And, it almost was like the market was holding its breath a little bit. And like I said, I get a little bit leery on that. It's not because NVIDIA is a good or bad company in doing that. But when so much is ascribed to a particular company, and when expectations get way out of the reasonable range, which I think by any kind of reasonable market metric, certainly historical reasonable market metric, that was certainly the case. They still exceeded the expectations. They just didn't blow them out by 100 or 200%, and so the market perceived that as a negative. That's where expectations get out of whack, and there needs to be a resettling. There needs to be a reset of those expectations to get closer to what is more of reality. You heard me talk about, or heard me mention, even in passing, a couple of other companies which have come out in very positive ways. You heard me talk about the CRM end of space. So I'm literally going to talk about the company whose ticker symbol is CRM. Charlie, Roger, Mary, Salesforce.com. Actually, they don't call themselves .com anymore, just Salesforce. That they came out with some earnings, very positive earnings. I'm also going to talk about cybersecurity very quickly. CrowdStrike, Charlie, Roger, William, David also came out with very positive earnings. They had some hiccup there, and when I say hiccup, I'm not talking about that in a minor way. Boy, if you were traveling through the airlines, especially with Delta Airlines here a couple of weeks ago, boy, I mean, the CrowdStrike had an update that didn't catch well, especially for airline reservation business, and especially with Delta, and shut down things almost completely there for a couple of days. Real misery. So that they definitely have some issues that they're going to need to address there. But basically, they said, no, it's not going to affect our sales, not going to affect our revenue. There still is so much incredible demand for our product that it's going to be business as usual. So very interesting for them to say that. The market liked that a lot. The market then was buying up CrowdStrike. Again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold CrowdStrike, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold Salesforce, but notable in terms of where things are right now. So what does that mean about where we are? What does that mean for the balance of the year? We are staring down the proverbial barrel of elections, not just for the Oval Office, but for Congress, for state, for local levels, all coming up in various sizes, shapes, and capacities here in the next several weeks, culminating in the first week of November. What does that mean? Oh, we're going to get rocky. You know that. I mean, this is not a new experience in going through the election season. It sometimes feels that way in terms of the questions that folks are asking. What does this mean for this time? And what's going to happen terrible if, fill in the blank, is elected to office? Well, folks, I got news for you. There's no one person who's responsible for anything when it comes to the markets. It's noisy for about 6 days. And I mean that literally. Watch me on that. Watch me with it doesn't matter what happens the first week of November. Watch me. Watch the markets with regards to who has actually been elected into office. It's going to be noisy for about 6 days. And then, magically, not really, the market is going to understand that the market is about more than who sits in the Oval Office, more than about who was elected in one space or another, with whom some folks disagree or some folks disagree. Friends, I'll tell you, that's going to happen. It absolutely will happen. You will have some folks who are elected into office that you want. You're going to have some folks elected into office that you don't want. That's part of what makes this beautiful democracy work. And by the way, newsflash, the markets love it when there's division. I know. I'm going to say this again. I'm going to bring this up a couple more times before the election. Nobody believes me. Go ahead and check me on it. It's absolutely mathematical fact that the market performs best. I'm laughing here because I have this conversation every single election season, dozens of times. The market performs best when there is a division in Congress and a change in the party in the Oval Office. I'm going to say it again. Check me on it. Fire up Google or Microsoft Edge, whatever. Search it. Doesn't matter. Search them all. The markets perform best on average when the House and the Senate are split, meaning that there's one party in majority in one and the other party majority in the other, and when there's a change in party in the Oval Office. Period. It doesn't matter. R, D's, I's, U's, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter. Check me on it. And I say that not to belittle the concerns that folks have about the election process. I'm not doing that at all. I'm saying that to provide some perspective in the kinds of things that we're watching here, because I understand it is hyper emotional, especially in this day and age where we got digital, online, things pulsing through our phones 24/7. I get it. I understand that that's the world in which we live now. However, there needs to be some point at which we take a little bit of a step back when it comes to our markets and understand what reality is. Markets move based upon a very, very long algorithm with literally dozens of variables associated with it in a given day. Literally. And yes, there are some variables which are more powerful than others, but that doesn't mean that those variables are either A, the most important, or B, permanent. And that's very, very important to keep in mind. I'm going to come back to the idea of retirement planning, which was today's What to Know segment. Make sure you're making your plan for the right reasons, not just based upon what's going to happen for the next 30 days, but perhaps what's going to happen for the next 30 years. And that's very, very important to keep that in mind. All right, we're rapidly approaching the end of our time here together on this week's version of Dollars and Cents. Let's do a lightning fast recap here. We were talking NVIDIA, big impact on the market, kind of went by quietly. I mean, if you look at today's trading, not as nearly as impactful as perhaps a lot of folks thought, but probably because some other companies did pretty well in terms of their earnings report. Talked about things that were very, very important, like pumpkin spice blizzards with Dairy Queen and also Berkshire Hathaway. When we're looking at good earnings, important to make decisions, investment decisions for the right reasons. Friends, always good to be with you. Thank you so much for your time here on Dollars and Cents. See you next week.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville, W264CU Statesville.